grab yourself a drink because we are going to talk about books. I have read quite some novellas and plays and books in May. I have been reading a lot of big volume books, and in between my big books, I wanted to read something more, not as big. So I want to go over the books, plays, novellas that I have read this month. The first one that I finished was Empire of Gold, and it was a very big one. I liked it. It was a bit long and slow. This is part 3 in the Devabad trilogy, and I really enjoyed this fantasy trilogy. So if you haven't read it, do check it out if you love fantasy novels, because this is a good one. I have also read Lolita by Vladimir Nabokov, and I really enjoyed this. I'm not gonna say a lot about this novel because I reviewed it last week on my channel, so if you haven't seen it yet, go check it out. The next one was The Last Day of a Condemned Man by Victor Hugo. If you haven't seen my video, it is on my channel, so if you want to know my opinion about the book, go ahead and check it out. The next work I've read was by Oscar Wilde, and it was a play, The Importance of Being. Earnest. It is a witty and satirical play, and it mocks Victorian society through misunderstandings and mistaken identities. We follow 2 men, Jack and Algernon, and they both lie about their name. They say their name is Earnest, and they do this to escape their dull lives, their dull everyday lives. They both fall in love with a woman who adores the name Earnest, and so it leads to all kinds of misunderstandings and conflicts. It was first performed in 1895, and the themes are identity and hypocrisy. What I love most about Oscar Wilde, his works, is his clever wordplay and his witty, sharp dialogue. It almost never happens to me that while I'm reading I smile or I laugh out loud, but Oscar Wilde, he pulls it off. So I will give you some quotes that really made me laugh. Well, I won't argue about the matter. You always want to argue about things. That is exactly what things are originally made for. Upon my word, if I thought that, I'd shoot myself. The second quote, I am sick to death of cleverness. Everybody is clever nowadays. You can't go anywhere without meeting clever people. The thing has become an absolute public nuisance. I wish to goodness we had a few fools left. We have. I should extremely like to meet them. So funny. The next one is also a play by Oscar Wilde, because I was kind of into the flow and I was really enjoying his work, so I thought, well, let's go on. The next one I read was Lady Windermere's Fan. Also a very, very great play, and I highly recommend. It is a witty play that delves into the complexities of marriage and scandal and social life of the Victorian woman. It is about a woman, Lady Windermere, and she is suspicious of her husband cheating on her. And because she thinks that her husband is cheating on her, she takes all kinds of actions that leads to misunderstandings. I know that there are some readers out there who detest having conflicts in a novel based on misunderstandings. Now, this is such a play. Almost all of the conflicts in this play are caused by people not talking with each other, or conflict being a result of secrets and misunderstandings. If something like this really bothers you, then I wouldn't recommend this play. But yeah, his plays are so accessible, so easy to read, and his dialogue, his wordplay, so funny, so clever. Okay, so the next one I've read, very short also, was Atala by François-René de Chateaubriand, and it is a tragic tale of a Native American woman who falls in love with a Christianized warrior. A tragic tale of love and a lot of religious conflict. It was published in 1801, and the reason why I picked it up is because I'm working through a list of authors that Victor Hugo loved. So this was one of the authors. It is set in the wilderness of colonial America in the 18th century, and the themes are love, religion, and nature. And I especially loved the descriptions of nature. They were so beautiful. His writing style is so descriptive, and at times it actually reminded me of Tolkien's writing style. And I will read you guys some quotes, but because I marked some things and I want to read it to you guys. But this author had also a huge influence on the romantic literature. Now it's kind of weird, but I don't really have an opinion about this book. Like, I enjoyed reading it, but sometimes you can just read these books and not really have special thoughts. So yeah, I don't know, this was such a book. Oh gosh, I have so many quotes. I'm gonna have to pick some. So I also always like to track references to other authors or works, and I have marked 2 references to other things, which was Homer and Solomon. And so to give you an idea of how religious the theme was, here is a quote. "How weak is a man who is governed by his passions? How strong is he who relies upon God?" There are a lot of things like this in the book. "Songs of angels and the vibrations of celestial harps were heard in the air. And when the hermit drew the sacred vessel from the tabernacle, I thought I saw God himself issue forth from the side of the mountain." Very religious. "Even during winter, as he loved to see the forests wave their stripped summits, the clouds fly through the air, and to hear the winds and the torrents roar in the solitude. I gave way in spite of myself to that heavy sleep which sometimes overcomes the wretched. I dreamt that my chains were being taken off. I thought I felt the satisfaction is experienced when, after having been tightly pressed, a helping hand relieves us of our irons. Oh, my young sweetheart, I love you like the shade of the woods at midday. You are as beautiful as the desert with all its flowers and all its breezes. If I incline towards you, I tremble. When my hand falls upon yours, it seems to me as though I were about to die. The other day the wind blew your hair upon my face as you were reposing yourself upon my bosom, and I fancied I felt the light touch of the invisible spirits. Alright, the next one was The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. I didn't really like this book. It's always difficult to say you didn't like a book when the rating is so high. Like, it has a 4.4, I think, on Goodreads. It is a semi-autobiographical novel, and it follows a young woman who is struggling with depression and with finding her way in a stifling society. This story is loved for many reasons, and I've actually written them down on a list. Because of the raw and honest portrayal of the protagonist's struggles with her mental illness and particularly her depression. 2, because it delves deep into themes of gender roles, identity, and the pursuit of aspirations. 3, because there is a rebellion against societal norms. 4, it is considered feminist literature. And 5, because of the personal connection to the author's life. Now, what didn't I like about this novella? 1, the slow pacing. I felt like there wasn't much happening, and that's okay because I love a bunch of novels with slow pacing. That's not a problem, but I felt like there kind of was no point. The second thing, there was no plot. The third thing that I didn't like is I just couldn't see the point of being inside Esther's head. So yeah, it kind of felt pointless. I don't want to say this because this is such a love book. I hate it. it just didn't touch me. And then there was this hate for men. Like, I know at the time that men were like really keeping women under their thumb, and of course that's not okay, but I felt like there was this really intense hate for men, and I didn't like that. I never liked novels where like men are demonized. I hate that. I'll give you guys some quotes. Maybe I just misunderstand, maybe I'm just not smart enough, or maybe I lack the insight, I don't know. So the first one: I hated the idea of serving men in any way. 2, I couldn't stand the idea of a woman having to be a single pure life and a man being able to have a double life, one pure and one not. What I hate is the thought of being under a man's thumb, I had told Dr. Nolan. A man doesn't have a worry in the world, while I've got a baby hanging over my head like a big stick to keep me in line. I don't have much else to say about this novel. I didn't connect with it. I didn't feel anything. The protagonist was really hard to care for, and maybe this might really be an impactful and great read when you're struggling with depression yourself or have been struggling with it. And I really love how this book can help other people feeling understood, and I will never say that this is a bad novel because it's written very well. It's just that I didn't connect with Esther, and with the story itself, I really didn't care. Next one I've read was The Art of War. This is actually some kind of timeless guide to military strategy. It was written a very long time ago, and I was kind of shocked how accessible it was. It is one of the oldest and most influential writings on military strategy. And it provides insights on leadership, on tactics, and on the art of decision making. The book is also used for businesses and politics and everyday life. It is about understanding yourself, the enemy, and the environment in which the conflict occurs. It promotes the idea of achieving victory without bloodshed. And it encourages the use of intelligence and diplomacy and psychological warfare to outmaneuver opponents. I'll give you guys a quote so you have an idea of the content. So here's a quote. If you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the results of 100 battles. If you know yourself but not the enemy, for every victory gained, you will also suffer a defeat. If you know neither the enemy nor yourself, you will succumb in every battle. This was all I have been reading this month. I'm in the middle of quite some big books, and these books were a joy to pick up in between. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next week.